Hello, and welcome to the We Get to Do This podcast. My name is Kaylee.
And I'm Jacob.
And we are your co-hosts.
In this show, we're going to dive into all things our lives, from our partnership to romance to entrepreneurship to growing our businesses together, our fitness journeys, and we're going to have a ton of different guests on that relate to what I just said in some way. We're hoping you enjoy the show, and if you do,
please feel free to follow us, leave us a 5-star review on wherever you listen to your podcasts, and enjoy.
And if you don't like the show, tough. Thank you.
Thanks. Welcome back, friends. We are on episode 32, going strong. And today we were hoping to have some different sound for you. And if anyone follows us on Instagram, you saw that I posted about our new microphone that we were very excited about. But, you know, nothing in this life is easy. And we just spent the last half hour trying to figure out sound. And turns out we need another box in order to be able to use this microphone.
And headphones.
And it is currently 7 p.m. on a Saturday night. And we've already a long weekend.
And I just want to watch Love is Blind.
You just want to finish Love is Blind. We won't give you any spoilers if you have not watched already. But yeah, we are not in the space to figure this out. It's turning out to be a lot more complicated than we were hoping.
Why, Sarah? Why?
Sarah, oh. If you have not watched Love is Blind yet, you got to get on the game. Yes, it's Minneapolis edition, and there's people are getting a lot of shit 'cause it's a, quote, boring edition.
It was a little boring at times. I mean, I haven't watched the other ones, but it was a little boring at times, but
it's February in Minnesota, and everyone who lives in Minnesota, I mean, and this was recorded last year when there was no snow. It was just kind of warm. So all the scenes are just like dead trees, brown grass. They go play hockey. They go to MOA. They go to the Viking Stadium. But it's still been kind of sad and emotional at the same time. Because I love love, but then some people are saying no at the altar.
Right.
It's brutal.
Right. But in terms of the podcast, I think tonight's a good example and of two things. One, Kaylee already alluded that it's 7 p.m. on a Saturday. And I mean, for the last 4 weeks, we haven't stopped. We have not stopped.
We started.
And we almost planned something tonight. I don't know how we would fit everything in. Right. But so we have to get this podcast. We get to get this podcast in on a Saturday, and it would have been very easy to just skip it, you know, but these are the moments where you have to push through and remember, we set out to have one a week. We don't even really look at the metrics. So I
haven't looked in a while.
That doesn't that's not why we do this. Right. I mean, some people are listening, and we know that.
We appreciate those who are listening and people who are listening every week.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty cool.
These are the types of things that, 5 years from now, if we're doing this still and it gets bigger and maybe we are actually making money off it, these are the moments to look back on when people go, wow, it must be nice that you are doing what you're doing. It's really cool. You're so lucky. And these are the moments right now when you don't want to record it, when it's 7 p.m. on a Saturday, and you want to sit on the couch and do nothing. I have a long run tomorrow, 14 miles, and I haven't eaten since noon. So.
And it's just the two of us that are trying to produce this right now. We're doing all the social media. We're doing the audio. We're doing the visuals. So no, it's nowhere near perfect, but it's exactly where we need to be right now. Yeah. And every 10 episodes, like we've said, things are different, and it's going to be different in 10 episodes from now. And hopefully we figure out more of this sound thing again. But for now, this is where we need to be. Yeah. And we get to be here.
I think it reminds me too of my business 5 years ago, and how I had nights like this where you stay up until 10, 11, midnight, whatever, working on this idea, this business, and you're creating this Canva picture maybe for Instagram that gets 1 or 2 likes, right? Or I was spending all this time creating this plan, this program for someone for quote unquote only $50 a month. That was all the money I was making off the business.
Or for an initial
Right.
session that they don't come back to.
Or for initial session, they'll come back, things like that, right? And in those moments, it's so easy to quit. It is so easy to quit. It's those moments that get you to now, that you remember. And then again, now you look at the things we do and that we're doing, and it's like, you like sometimes this is a reminder for me even of like sometimes you forget where you came from, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's running too. That's nutrition. That's fitness. Whatever. It's like I feel as though we've talked about this week that, and we've had comments made like that. People sometimes just assume that Kaylee was always running 7-minute flat 5 miles. That I was running 6:30-minute flat 5-mile runs, that I could ever run a 6:30 mile period.
That we are at a certain weight.
Right. That we
at now.
Right. That we were at a certain weight that we were at now, that we don't struggle with our bodies, that we don't struggle with our food, that we don't struggle in the weight room, that we, and
those comments are hard.
Very.
Because have worked very hard to get where we are.
Right.
And want to continue growing always. That's what I appreciate about both of us, that we are constantly in a growth mindset. But we're human, and it does hurt sometimes hearing comments about, well, why are you even talking about that when you're
haven't made.
Yeah, you're in this situation, like you have,
or that you're not in this situation.
Right. And that you have this partner, that you're living in this nice apartment, that you have this podcast together, that you two are creating a business together. We've built this from the ground up. And yes, we have had a lot of luck and privilege and support along the way. Do not get me wrong. But both of us have worked extremely hard to get where we are. This isn't even what we were going to talk about, but clearly both of us are very passionate. It's been a big week. It's
just been a very, I think it's ironic that I walk into a bookstore today and see a book called Mindset. And that's talking about growth versus fixed mindset. The whole premise of the book is growth versus fixed mindset, because this entire week, I feel as though there's been a lot of signs from the universe, God, whomever is in charge, whatever, simulation, whatever, of like testing a little bit of like my mindset, specifically, working with and being around like the occasional fixed mindset. And that could be like road rage, right? That's you driving onto a freeway and someone, flips you the bird because they think you cut them off, or vice versa, whatever, right? It could be you accidentally budging someone in front of someone at Costco in line, and they like, the world is ending, right? As opposed to being able to take a step back and go like, what is it that they're possibly going through, right? What's their background? Where are they from, right? Looking at the whole picture and having that growth mindset. I just feel like I've been very tested this week with that. And also I think that's a good thing. It ego checks me,
I think the other theme this week has been just judgment. And that's partially because we've been watching a lot of Love is Blind.
Oh, yeah.
And
oh, yeah.
Even just reading the comments on social media of all these people on Love is Blind is just mind-boggling. The things that people will say about people that they've only seen these snippets of on television. And yes, I'm not defending anyone who's been on there, but also it's given me appreciation for, wow, the fact that they are willing to put themselves on TV just like we are, and that people can kind of like take out just like specific instances and be like, wow, you are a terrible human.
Right.
And you should like, people are basically saying like, go die. Like, you don't belong like on this planet. I mean, that's drastic, but like some of the comments are basically like that.
On Love is Blind, not towards us.
Yeah.
Not towards us. Love is Blind.
Yeah. But it just makes me think, I'm like, I give them a lot of credit for doing that, because that's kind of what we're doing every week too, is we're putting ourselves out there on social media, on our podcast, and nobody is perfect. And we are all doing our best at the end of the day, and we are doing what we think is best. And it's just the judgment that, and both of us are guilty of judging people too. I'm not saying that either, but just the judgments that we all have for each other. And it's like, it's sad. And
everyone needs to chill.
Yeah, just thinking about it a lot this week, and it hurts, And I don't think anyone can say that they don't think that what others say and how others think about them doesn't have an effect on their life. Because at the end of the day, we're all human. And we just need to breathe sometimes. And I think one thing that COVID taught me is that no one knows what they're doing. Adults that are, 60 don't know what they're doing, 40 don't know what they're doing, 20-year-olds don't know what they're doing. And we're on this planet for such a short snippet of time that nobody is going to become a master in life in that short amount of time. So I think we all need to give each other grace. We need to give ourselves grace. We need to be less judgmental of each other and less judgmental of ourselves. Because I've been really judgmental on myself this week too. And I took a dry needling class last weekend. And I think that's another reason why this judgment thing has been coming up, because I know a lot of acupuncturists are very against dry needling. And so I felt judgment from my acupuncture community. I took this course with physical therapists. I felt judgment from the physical therapist community that I was taking this class, until I kind of explained that I was also a registered nurse and worked on acute care hospital floors. And then I felt like I started getting acceptance. And maybe I'm just reading into this too much, but I've heard comments that, nurses have said about holistic health. I've heard comments that PTs have said about holistic health. I've heard what acupuncturists have said. And again, none of us would be going into these professions that are extremely hard and taxing emotionally, physically, if we didn't truly believe in what we're doing. So if we can leave the judgments aside.
Well, that just reminds me of how, when I was talking to Todd a while back, I was talking about going to a chiropractic conference, the AK conference that I've been doing, and how hard that can be, and being a trainer in a setting with a bunch of doctors who have all this schooling and the judgment you get and whatnot. And I think in general, and I'm referring kind of what he told me, but making my own opinion on it too. I think in general, we get very protective. All of us get very protective of our roots and our upbringing and whatever our craft is, right? You see it all the time with different providers, with different trainers, different coaches, the methods we use. We want to defend it because we spent hours, maybe a lot of money. Maybe we've invested our own training in these methods. So the idea of there maybe being another method out there that challenges ours, the slight idea of, it's not that method is right that we have a problem with, it's that we have a problem with our background, our craft, our ideas being wrong. And you get protective over that because you don't want to be wrong. And it goes back to that fixed versus growth mindset. And we all get stuck in this fixed mindset of being wrong because we don't want to be judged. When in reality, everyone has something to offer, right? You going to a PT world as an acupuncturist and going, you're doing something right. There is a lot of money in the PT world from a business perspective. And there are also a lot of athletes asking for dry needling. You're doing something right, as opposed to you going, no, this is my craft. I'm not touching that.
Or I don't want to be judged by my community.
Right.
I don't want to
that's another thing, right? Stepping out of the tribe.
Step out of the tribe and go against the grain. Because that's scary too. Because then you're kind of caught in this middle ground, which is where I feel like I've been caught for a lot of my life. Even without this. But the other big thing that I've been thinking about lately is how you do need to have a growth mindset, and having a strong belief system, of course, is very important. We need core values. We need beliefs. However, you need to be able to challenge those beliefs. And I've just been thinking about this a lot, and how in order to get farther and to make it to the next level, you need to constantly be willing to challenge your own beliefs. And that doesn't mean you need to change those beliefs if you figure out that that is really important for you. But you need to be able to listen to others and listen to yourself and find out, why have I always thought this thing, and why am I willing to not dive into this? And that's something I think we've all been guilty of too. And, I used to not believe in a running plan, and then realized, oh shit, this is actually incredibly powerful. I have now PR'd every single race for the last year and a half since having a run coach and a run plan. And these beliefs that I thought that I would never be fast, I'm challenging that. Like, why have I thought that I would never be fast? I mean, I remember I used to have dreams where I'd be running on a track, and I remember my legs wouldn't move. It felt like I was running through sludge, and I'd be trying to run faster, 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 and my body just wouldn't move. So it was these deep beliefs that I've always had. And then you kind of get put in this box. You kind of keep yourself there. And it's why have I put myself there, and why am I willing to not get out of it? And that's where looking at who you're surrounding yourself with, and yes, find your community and people with like-minded views, but you also need to be willing to have people in your circle that challenge those views. And you do not need to agree with them on everything, but we've become so against what other people are saying if it doesn't exactly match what we believe already. And I think that's just a really sad direction that we're heading in, because we need to be more open-minded. And I think that's where the judgment comes in too, because then we judge others for not being like us. Then we're like, you're wrong, I'm right. And we're not able to be open. And then it goes back to the, must be nice type of attitude. And I feel like the two of us, I'm proud of us for trying to be open as much as we can. And I know we can be closed-minded too, but I feel like we do really try hard to expand that. And that's why mindset, I think why we align on that so much, why we're so open to changing our mind and growing our mind, because the limits are endless with the mind. We are capable of so gosh darn much, which is again why I like to do ultra marathons and figuring out how far we can push the body, because then that for me directly correlates to life. Okay, how far can I expand my mind? People say that this thing is not curable. Why? Why is this not curable? Why do we think that this is just never going to go away and that we have to just live with something for the rest of our lives? Why do we think we're always going to be a slow runner? Why do we think we can't bench a certain amount? Why do we think our body type will never change? I mean, whatever it is, why do we think that? It's putting huge limits on ourselves. And then that goes deep into our body, such as the book, The Body Keeps the Score, because then we start shoving down all these emotions and beliefs without really ever digging into that and being like, why do we have that? For women, a lot of stuff gets stuck in our pelvic floor, our pelvic area, emotionally, because we're not able, if you think you can't speak certain things about love, about having children, and then it all just gets stuck. And then that just keeps perpetuating over and over for generations until it's so deeply ingrained in us that, yeah, you can't see other beliefs. That's my little tangent for the day.
This was a great episode. I thought that was great. I think that we were going to come on and give quarterly kind of updates, but I think this was great. You know, I'm curious to, quite honestly, from the people that are listening to this podcast, thank you so much. And it's not even just people that listen to our podcast, it's people that support us. Thank you. Both of us we try very, very hard to make everyone happy. And we also try very hard to challenge ourselves, maintain a growth mindset, and step out, view situations, life, what have you, from the balcony, as you will. I don't say this to be arrogant. I say it because I really feel like you and I do a good job of those things. I really do feel like we do. And we mess up and we say things we shouldn't. Right? You know, I had a heated conversation with a professional that I do work with, and this was probably like a month ago, you know, and for at least a week, I just thought I'm right only. I am for sure right, 100%. Everything that person did was wrong. I am for sure right. And then, you know, you take a step back and you kind of look and you think like, all right, if I was in their shoes, how would I feel right now? We're good now. We talked again, and I really feel like we do a good job with that type of thing. I really do. So my ask for the community is, if you feel as though we aren't, if you're a client, a friend, or whatever, like, let us know. You know, I had someone give us feedback on the podcast a few days ago now, and they said that they politely said I should listen to Trevor Noah's podcast. And they talked about a lot of times how when there is a male and a female on a podcast together, the male typically will end up dominating the conversation. And you could tell she was very, like, scared almost to tell me that. And that's the stuff I want to hear. And I told them, like, no, tell me this stuff. Keep telling me this stuff. Because that makes me better, right? That's me knowing that. And, you know, as I'm on this long-winded thing here, but me knowing that helps me understand, right? And then, you know, I'll go listen to the podcast and I think about that so that I can grow and make this better and make Kaylee shine more as well. Not that you need me to make you shine, but you know what I'm saying? Like, those are the types of things I want to hear. And I know you do too. Sorry if I'm speaking for you.
No, and I think that goes with even the career advice we've gotten and mentorship advice. And just because somebody says something that they really don't like doesn't mean we need to say, oh, fine, we'll never, ever do that again. But that goes back to listening to people's different beliefs and listening to people's opinions so that we can form what works best for us and take what we think would serve us most, serve the podcast listeners the most, serve our clients and patients the most, and leave the other things. And doesn't mean we can't come back to that at some point either. That's the thing with all of this is all of these, life is constantly changing, and we will continue to change as a couple. When we're married, parents, life will be way different at that point, and we will connect with other people on a different level at that point than the way we're connecting right now. But yeah, I always want to hear feedback and constructive criticism, what you like, what you don't like. And I hope that we can all be open with each other about those things. So again, that's life, and be able to see things from other people's point of views and how other people are picking up on you and what we just say. Which is why we always ask for comments and stuff too. And if it's something you just want to tell Jake and I personally, shoot us a DM or tell us in person. But I think that's that growth mindset that we try to have, and doesn't mean that it won't maybe sting for a minute, because again, we're human. But I do want to do my best to be open to comments and feedback.
Yeah, and it's interesting because immediately in this podcast, one of the things that we talked about, and this is a really good conversation we had, it was maybe 2 minutes long, but was how I'm uncomfortable with open, silent space. And because of that, I'll just start talking. And it's almost like I'll end up cutting you off then if you're taking a moment to pause and think, right? And I had someone tell me after we interviewed Todd, actually, something similar, but not with gender. They were just like, when you are in a setting, community calls, right? I've had this discussion here too. It's okay for open space, Jacob. Like, let people have open space, and that can lead to better things. And so just on this podcast, I just have been trying to do a better job of sitting here and actually truly listening and not just thinking about the next thing I'm going to bring up, so that there isn't quiet space. And what happens is then you end up having a cooler idea, and I said cooler, I guess, you know, you continue flowing, and like you went on that really awesome, not rant, is that the right word? But a little bit ago.
Tangent, rant.
Because I wasn't being a, butthole and trying to like chime in and say my piece,
Yeah, well, and I think you had not told me about that conversation. So thanks for sharing that now. But yeah, I mean, my family knows, and you know, that I don't just like start talking typically. Like, I'm a person who I need to be present with the person that I'm with. I need to know that that space for me to talk. And that's always been my personality, which is why I've always had a harder time in group settings, being one of the more quiet ones and having more one-on-one conversation. And yeah, I think that's a good reminder for everyone. Like, give people the space, listen to listen, and don't just listen to respond.
I feel as though everyone's takeaway this week, your homework assignment is go find something you don't agree with or someone, and ask them a question. I'll give you a couple examples from my past life. I was a vegan for a while, and I would literally go listen to carnivore podcasts to see and learn this other perspective. I don't agree with one exercise modality. So what do? Like, go study that modality. Someone believes in it. So there's probably something good there, right? Don't like the way that person's doing their runs. Why are they doing them that way? Maybe they have a reason for it. Go ask. Mm-hmm. Do those things. And if you think we were too blunt on this podcast today, let us know, actually, because I would be curious.
Or if you like the bluntness, let us know too. This is not the direction we were planning on taking, but it was kind of good and therapeutic. So
that felt good, yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully they liked it. I don't know.
It's good because next week there will be a guest on the podcast. I will be out because I'll be in San Diego for another conference next weekend, but then we'll be back together again after that. What's your we get to do this moment?
Being with you. I've just been very appreciative of you lately. I'm always appreciative of you, but I'm just really lucky.
Love you.
Love you.
Love is Blind is also helping us with appreciating each other even more. I'd say we get to do this moment. I've had so many. Which one do I want to choose? I guess the first one that comes to my mind is talked a lot about how I am now only working on my business and how scary that's been, but also on Monday. So Monday was the first day that I was in my own space on a Monday because I was at a different clinic on Mondays. And somebody randomly showed up while I was at the gym, and I happened to have an opening at that exact time that they showed up. And I was like, do we have an appointment today? And she was like, she was going through some stuff at the time, but she was like, well, I had it written down, but it was like nowhere in my computer system. And I have like pretty good software where you can see like appointments, and we'll give people reminders. And it just happened to work out perfectly that I could have her. And it was just a really cool moment. Felt like the universe being like, yeah, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Because I had never been there on Mondays. I hadn't seen her in weeks. So she wouldn't have even known that I was going to be there on Mondays. So it's just like very strange that it all aligned in that way. And, you know, when you close one chapter of your life, things start to just kind of fall into place and in alignment. And that's not saying that it's definitely not any easier right now, but I am sticking with my goal of having one job for this year. And so far it's going really well. And it feels really good. And I'm very grateful that I get to do this. Thank you for listening. That was, I think, a lot for all of us. We appreciate you all being here. And seriously, please give us feedback on all of these. If that's commenting on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, or letting us know or sending us a DM on our We Get to Do This social media. Please let us know, because we're doing it for us, yes, but we're also, we appreciate everyone who is along on the journey and want you guys to continue to follow along. So really appreciate the support.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Wow, Kaylee, we made it through another episode. What do you think?
We would love if you would go give us a follow, a 5-star review, and comment on the episode and what you liked and what you'd like to see more of.
See you next time.
We Get to Do This.